Hi guys, John Campea here, editor of AMC Theater Script to Screen. You know, this is a great weekend for movies. One movie in particular that's opening up is Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Folks, this film is absolutely fantastic. It's so good, I wanted to take a couple minutes to talk to you about 5 epic reasons Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is a movie of epic epicness.
Mr. Pilgrim! I'm Ramona's first evil ex-boyfriend.
Wait! We're fighting over Ramona?
Didn't you get my email explaining the situation?
I skimmed it.
The first thing I want to mention about Scott Pilgrim is the fact that it feels like you're playing a video game in the movie. Now, a lot of comic book films have set up their movie in such a way that it feels like you're reading a comic book as you're watching the movie, and that's terrific. But Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is the first film of its kind that felt like you were playing a video game as you were going through. And it's not just because there's some great video game graphics that come up throughout. You actually feel like you're almost walking through a game instead of a film with Scott Pilgrim. You know, you're getting lives up, you're scoring points, all this kind of stuff, and it really immerses you into the film experience. It was a little weird at first for me because I've never seen a film done this way, but once you really get into that video game style of the film, it becomes incredibly engaging. The second thing I want to mention is the performance of Michael Cera. Now, it should be said that I'm kind of a known Michael Cera critic. I've gotten bored of him because he usually seems to play the same kind of guy in every single movie he's in. But you gotta give the dude his props. He is terrific as Scott Pilgrim.
So this is a date, eh?
Did I say date?
Slip the tongue.
Tongue.
He's kind of vulnerable and insecure at all the right moments, but he's also strong and very self-aware in other moments. He plays the perfect Scott Pilgrim, and for that reason, I gotta say, he's just a terrific performance and one of the reasons I love this film so much. The third thing that really has to be mentioned here are the fights. Now, you're going into a film like this, you don't expect the fighting to be one of the highlights. But, as you can imagine, with 7 Evil Exes, there are a lot of fights to be had. And, you know, Michael Cera does a lot of his own fight stunts and stuff like that, and they come across terrific.
Getting a life.
We all have baggage.
Yeah, well, my baggage doesn't try and kill me every 5 minutes.
You punched me in the boob. Prepare to die, obviously.
Look, a lot of action films these days commit the sins of having the camera in too close, or having shaky camera, or editing too quickly, and they don't give you as an audience member the time to appreciate the fight choreography that's going on. But Scott Pilgrim, number one, is terrifically choreographed, but also it's brilliantly shot by Edgar Wright. He has the right camera angles, the right type of editing, the right type of movement, so you feel immersed into the fights instead of distracted from them. And for that reason, I really think the fighting is one of the great things about this film. As you can imagine with an Edgar Wright film, this is a funny movie. Now, that's one of the expectations you have, and when you have high expectations, sometimes they can let you down, but Scott Pilgrim vs. the World does not disappoint.
Dislike you, capiche?
Tell it to the cleaning lady on Monday.
What?
Because you'll be dust by Monday. Because you'll be pulverized in 2 seconds. And the cleaning lady, she cleans up dust. She dusts.
The characters, the dialogue, the physical humor all come across as really, really clever. Now, there's not a whole lot of huge belly laugh moments throughout the film, but that's fine because you find yourself constantly giggling and smiling throughout the film. It's got a really nice temper of humor that runs from start to finish, and that's just another reason why Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is so entertaining. The last thing I want to mention here is the style of the film. Now, I kind of allude to that a little bit when I talk about how it feels like a video game, but really the overall visual and editing style of the film is absolutely terrific. Like I said about the whole video game style, I've never really felt like I've seen a film shot this way before. It's got a very deliberate pace. It's always moving forward. It's non-stop. Right from the opening credits to the end, there's always stuff going on the screen with, you know, superimposed titles and visual effects and quick editing and stuff like that. It never slows down. Now, that can get a little bit tiring, and I must admit by the end of the film, I felt a little mentally fatigued, but it didn't stretch out too much. And for that reason, it just really kept you engaged. And, you know, if you've got ADD, this is a terrific film for you. The style of the film completely encapsulates the spirit of Scott Pilgrim, and for that reason, it engages you, draws you in, and just makes you entertained throughout the whole thing.
What are you doing?
Getting a life.
Look, I'm not going to pretend that Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is a perfect movie. In my opinion, it might have been just a little bit too long, and I never really felt the chemistry between Scott Pilgrim and his main love interest, Miss Flowers. But those are just minor details in a film like this. It shoots for a very specific point and it achieves a very specific point. This is an entertaining, fun, funny, engaging movie that I think you're going to have an absolute blast watching at the movies this weekend. For AMC Theater Script to Screen, my name's John Campea.